everybody, this is Bernie here from Stamp and Eat, and welcome back to another Friday card making session with me. It is so great to have you here. Today I want to make this gorgeous card using the Desert Details. I keep saying Delicate Daisy because that's one of my favorite, or Dainty Delights, whatever the new one is. But yes, Desert Details in the new mini catalog. And I want to show you the technique I want to teach you today is how to do a little bit of alcohol ink. Create your own interest with alcohol ink. And I also want to show you how I created these little gold tufts. And this is actually based on a sketch, and I'll pop the PDF link for you down below in the description of the sketch that I used. It's a very simple sketch, and as you can tell when you see the sketch, I've just stepped it up just a little bit. So if you don't have dies to do something a little bit more stepped up, you can just simply use paper or cardstock and you'll have the same effect. So we've got some designer series paper, some cardstock, and behind there I've placed a vellum circle which I've cut out with one of my punches. But if you don't have a punch or a die cut, you could always just use a tiny the rim of a teacup or even a plastic cup. So it's very doable if you don't have exactly what I have. But if you do, or if you love what I've created today and you are in New Zealand, you are more than welcome to click on the supply list link down below in my description box, and I will have this card listed in my supply store where you can purchase everything to replicate this card. So let's get started, and do stick to the end because I'm going to show you another card that I made using the exact same paper in the series, in the same bundle. So this paper and this stamp and die set can be found in the current mini catalog of Stamping Up. And as you know, I have already, without telling you, I have cut a piece of basic white cardstock, 5.5 at 8.25, so that's my standard card base. And I'm going to pop all the dimensions for the pieces that you're going to need. You should be seeing them now on your screen. So I'm going to take a piece of designer series paper, and this one looks gorgeous. It's got sort of that whole desert theme going, and you're going to need to use some liquid glue or some other form of adhesive and just pop that down on your card front. All right, and in this one I'm wanting to keep sort of the pale papaya up at the front. Then you're going to need to have a strip of contrasting designer series paper, and you'll need to have a strip of cardstock that goes with all the colors. So this is Cajun Craze that I'm using here, and this is Grey Granite. I believe that's Grey Granite. And Pale Papaya is also in there, and I've stamped the inside of the card using Pale Papaya. So to give this card a little bit more definition, I decided to use one of the dies in the Desert Details dies that come with the stamp set. So they've got some amazing frames and sort of real Mexican feel, but I decided to use this die, and I die cut out the designer series paper and then pop that up on dimensionals. So you should get 2 out of that, and so I will do that with you now. And I'm just going to use my mini cut and emboss machine because it works so well for this size, and I'm going to pop that down on the top. So with the mini it's a little bit trickier. What I always tell my clients is just make sure that the top is sticking out slightly above the base so that it grips, and then you should find that that works the best. All right, so I've cut out the one, And when you cut it out, you're going to have this piece. So that's what we're going to stick up on dimensionals, and I'm going to repeat it at the bottom. So, and try and get them level, and I'm not using post-it notes for this, so I'm hoping it's not going to be too uneven. Alright, so we'll pop this through with our cut and emboss machine, and I don't think I did too badly given that I didn't use a post-it note. And I'm just going to pop this out because it hasn't come out. If you're not aware, in Stampin' Up! Dies, we've got these little holes, and the goal for that is that you stick something sharp through it and it releases the die that's underneath. Isn't that clever? So these are going to go in with dimensionals, but before I do that, we need to emboss. So I've used black. Can you see that if I move it? Hopefully it shines. I've used black embossing powder on the Cajun Craze. So where have I put it? Oh, there we go. So for this, I'm using my embossing buddy, which is quite helpful. And you just want something to take the static off, and then just brush off the excess. And then you're going to need to use Versamark, which is like a glue that helps to stick the powder, the embossing powder on. I'm using this stamp set, You Are What Sunshine Feels Like. That is part of the Desert Details. It's in the wording there, and I just think it's just so fitting and the right thing for this stamp. So you're going to ink up the Versamark, place it in position, hold it down, and then when you release, you should see, let's just move that, you should see it's translucent. Now, I would suggest if you don't have that, you either have a container. I like to keep mine in and labeled with my embossing powder. It's just a better way to contain it. I just find it much easier. And the reason I went with black is because in New Zealand on the west coast, we've got a lot of iron in our sand, and so it's black. And it just made me think of that. So I wanted to bring in a little bit of New Zealand into my card. But you can choose whatever embossing powder you want. And then you're going to need to use your heat tool, heat gun. And I'm just going to show you, when you wave it back and forwards, you should start to see the embossing powder change, and it should start to shine like this. So it really does help to hold it up to the light so that you can make sure you're not missing any spots. And I just like to go from behind as well. Alright, I think we've got it all. Perfect. Excellent. So now we can glue that down, and then we can put in our vellum circle. I just want to make sure that's all clean of embossing powder. So that's going to come just above your designer series paper. You want to leave a little strip. And then I have used a 2.5 inch punch, and I have cut out a vellum circle. And because I was making 2 cards, I just cut it in half, which is what we've got here. And you're going to place this where you want that. So I would suggest, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that on some adhesive sheets, and that means that you're not going to see the vellum, the glue behind the vellum, and I don't need a lot, so I'm just grabbing a scrap. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to glue the one side of this down, just like that. so that I can get my position. So I want it about over there. And now with my vellum, I'm going to just add some, this is going to be bigger. So it's got a sticky side and it's a two-way release. So I'm literally just going to add it on there. And I'm going to use a scissor that's what I call my glue scissor. And I'm just going to go around the semicircle and cut off what I don't need. Taking care obviously not to distort the semicircle. And then I'm going to release the other lining, and you should be able to hopefully see that stickiness, and that is going to come underneath, right over there. I'm looking to butt that up with the cardstock, and I'm just releasing that. And you can, if you want, just add a little bit of glue here now where we are not needing to have it open. All right, and now we're going to take these guys that have been cut out. I'm just trying to get that off my fingers, and we're going to add some dimensionals. And I think two, oops, just be careful. I noticed that last time these tops can come undone very easily. So 2 on each will do it. And just take your release paper off and place it in position over there. And we're just going to repeat the process for this one. Okay, and I might just use my take your pick tool for that. So here we've got that one going there. Awesome. So now what I want to show you, I'm just going to demonstrate the technique, and then I'll just show you that I have actually die cut one out already just to save time. But I want to demonstrate using vellum, a piece of vellum, and alcohol ink blends. You're going to want to use the dark alcohol ink blend of whatever color you choose. You're also going to need some isopropyl alcohol, and you're going to need a tool, heat tool again. So with the broad tip, let me just make sure this is closed, I'm using soft succulent. You're just going to make squidgies wherever. And then I like to use my stamping spritzers. I don't know if you could see that. Make sure the nozzle is turned away from you. Spray on your alcohol blends that you can actually see it moving. And then use your heat tool and move the paper around to create your design. And this is how you do these alcohol ink looks. Okay? And if you turn it, you will be able to see it dry. And there, you've got an amazing alcohol ink design. Now you of course can use other colors, you can add colors, and then just position your die over the part that you want to accentuate. This is the beauty of it, because you'll be picking up different tones. And I've already done that for the sake of time, and so I've come out with this, and that's what you can see in this card. That's what I've done there. So I just used a glue dot for the positioning of this, and I just picked the glue dot up and I added it to the base, and I brought it down to where these guys meet at the corner. And then when you die cut that particular flower out, it leaves behind the sort of the leaves of the succulents. So what I've done is I've just popped it another glue dot. I love my glue dots. and I've just added it there, and I've got another small one, and I've done the same. I've just added it there, and I've picked up the little bits that were left behind. Of course, you could also add dimensionals that actually would be just as effective. So that's what I've done over here. And now to add these little gold trims in there, you're going to need some of the gold trim. And let me cut it off. I'm just looking for my scissor. You're not really going to need a lot. You'll probably need, I don't know, maybe 5-10 centimeters. And just move it a little bit, open up the corners like so, and we just want to get that inside. There is a thread. Now this one is of course not, well, you could pull it that way too, but there are actually threads, and I want to show you how easy it is to get them released. And of course on this one it's not cooperating. You see, there is the thread, so let's pull it out there, and now that the thread is out, you should be able to just pull these guys right like this. There we go. Excellent. So what I did was my trusty little glue dots again. I literally just picked up a glue dot using my take your pick tool. I grabbed a few, I didn't even count, and I stuck it behind there, and I just repeated the process. I just, whoops, didn't pick that one up. I just picked them up and popped them behind. Okay, and then I just tidied them up, the ones that looked a little bit rogue. I just gave them a snip. And the last thing we need to do is the inside. Oh no, we need to do the bling. I forgot about the bling. So the bling comes in the same suite. It's the gold faceted adhesive backed sequins, and I think these are gorgeous. So I'm just going to pop some in here. Just remember, of course, we're working in triangular shapes. And then the last thing we need to do is create the inner card. So for that, I just created a base, a matte base with Cajun Craze and a blank white. And I'm using the stamp set and pale papaya. And I'll just move that into the camera. So I'm just going to ink my flower, and I don't have my release mat. Just give me a minute. I just want to do a second generation stamp, so I just need to get that off. And oops, actually I need that again because I'm going to go off the center. And there we go. Perfect. Making a lot of noise today in this video. And now we just need to glue. I wish you guys could see my craft room when I'm making these videos. It honestly looks very interesting. Everything gets chucked to the side so that I just don't have to worry about it. Everything's nice and neat before I start, in its place, ready where I need it. And then everything just gets chucked to the side as I'm using it. And so that just goes in the center of your, or inside your card. And there you have it. So beautiful, beautiful card with a very simple technique of showing you just a sketch on how you can make a beautiful card using that. And then I promised I would show you a card using the same papers, and this is actually a tutorial that I have made that you can purchase on my website for, and it's aimed at a beginner stamper, teaching you how to make this card. So if you like this card and you really want to make something that looks like this and you don't know how, The link for my tutorial is below as well. And that is just gorgeous. It's using the same stamp as what we've just done, the same techniques, the same embellishments, exactly the same sentiment, but it's just using a different piece of paper in the suite that came with it. So there you go. There is the gorgeous Desert Details stamp set where I taught you how to do some alcohol blend pen designs, and we did some embossing, and I showed you how to make some gorgeous little twirly things with your gold trim. So I hope you've been inspired, that you'll go out there today and give it a go this weekend and bless somebody with a beautiful handmade card from your heart. And remember, until we meet again, stamp, eat, sleep, repeat.